Hello everyone, welcome to another Chronicles Medieval Dev Diary. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm not Clemens. My name is Eric, I'm a community developer, and some of you on Discord may know me as Happy Bara. Last time we talked about battles, and today we thought we'd give you a little bit more information as to how armies and units work. To that effect, to join me here today is Nikki, a senior game designer. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, what is a unit in Chronicles Medieval?
A unit is a collection of troops that are all of the same type and fight under the same banner. So in your army overview, you will see them as like one entity with the same stats, weaponry, everything, and a troop count saying how many troops are currently in the unit.
And how are they categorized or broken down?
Yeah, so they're based on a historical background of levies, mercenaries, and household. So levies are the kind of urban and rural population that were called into military service based on whatever their lord was up to and had in terms of alliances and obligations. Household are the troops of the nobility themselves, and mercenaries are, the work for hire. You pay them a lot of money and they will fight for you.
And do each of these have their own different upgrade trees?
Yeah, so all of the factions that we have in the game have a unique unit for all of these categories. So England, France, Holy Roman Empire, and all of them are kind of tailored towards the strengths, historical strengths of those factions. So the English have very skilled bowmen, the French have very formidable cavalry, and the imperial troops are known for their very tough infantry.
And what do mercenaries really bring to this mix?
Mercenaries are used to cover the weaknesses of the different factions. If you want to increase the potency of your French army in terms of ranged capacity, you will get some English mercenaries. Or if you really want to have a well-balanced army between infantry and cavalry, then you can complement your imperial army with French cavalry mercenaries. But mercenaries also come with a downside. They're very expensive, and they might not be as loyal, so they're more affected by morale changes.
All right, so now that we're looking at a troop tree, or rather the single node of a troop tree, can you tell me a bit more about what it represents?
Yeah, so every node in this troop tree is a particular troop type that you can upgrade this unit to. And what is displayed here is that you see the unit's category, household, mercenary, levies. You can see their role, whether they are melee or ranged, whether they're mounted or on foot, their general equipment, like what kind of weapons are they using, and their stats.
And tell me a bit more about those stats.
Well, first off, there's the troop count. That is the current number of troops in your unit. Then there's hit points. That is the total damage a troop can take before he dies in battle. Then there's melee and range damage, which is the damage output that they do. And melee units don't have a ranged value, but ranged units do have a melee value, because when you get close to them, they will change to their secondary weapon, and then they will also fight up close. Then there's melee and ranged penetration, and that is the ability of the unit's weapon to bypass their armor rating, which is the next one, and that is damage reduction. So those two combined determine how strong a unit is and how fast it can kill other units.
Tell me more about what attack chance and block chance, what difference do they make?
Those are kind of variables in the behavior of the unit, so how likely it is for them to attack or for how likely it is for them to block, to determine how they engage other units in battle. And cohesion is the structural integrity of a unit, so determines how well they maintain rank and, for example, absorb cavalry charges.
And I can see this Sergeant of the Sword is a Tier 7 unit. Can you tell me a bit more about tiers?
Yeah, tiers is what we use to indicate relative power. So it's basically a sum up of all of the stats and capabilities of the unit, so you can compare them relative to each other. And they also differ per category of unit.
So how do they differ across levy, household, and mercenary, and how does that change things?
Yeah. So levies are kind of your lower tier troops. They range from tier 1 to 5, which means you usually recruit them at tier 1, and then you can level them up to tier 5. But they're also cheaper to run with. Household units are better trained, better equipped, and they go towards the top end of the range. So from tier 4 up to tier 8 or 9, depending on the faction. And mercenaries are kind of in between. They go from range 3 to 7, but they differ all in what it costs to keep them in your army.
say I was to have all three of these different categories up against each other in battle, like what do you think about who would come out on top in those?
It really depends on the overall army composition, because household troops are usually the strongest, but you can level up your levies and mercenaries to kind of be in the same ballpark. And then it comes down to what are their roles, what is your strategy, or focusing on particular strengths for you as a commander to come out on top.
Tell me a little bit more about recruitment and how that works.
Yeah, there's two parts to recruitment. There's recruiting new units and there's replenishing troops. And you do both at quartermasters, which you can find at different locations on the exploration map. And you go to settlements to recruit levies or their troops. And you go to castles to recruit household units or troops. And when you visit a location to recruit a unit, the region, the culture of the region that location is in determines what units are available. So if you're in English territory, then you will find English levy and household units. But mercenaries work the complete opposite. So if you're in English regions, then you will find French and Imperial mercenaries there to kind of complement what we just talked about in the English army. Replenishing troops works a little bit differently. Usually when you recruit a unit, it's not at full capacity. And also in battle, you will lose troops. So replenishment is there to kind of fill back up your troops. And we do that through troop resources. So levies, mercenaries, household have their own resource, and you can put those in matching units. The type or role of the unit doesn't really matter. So it's basically taking a type agnostic resource and refilling the units that match that.
What sort of factors affect unit availability for the player?
So availability resets every in-game week, but during that time you are recruiting, but other commanders are also recruiting. So they visit the different locations and will also recruit units and troops, which influences what is available to you. We don't want them to kind of like pick everything clean so you have no opportunity at all, but they will have an effect on what is available to you. There's settlement size and prosperity that affect how many things are available. And the last thing is functional buildings.
So as for progression, what can I as a player do to improve recruitment?
Yeah, I just mentioned functional buildings. That's a big one. At early access launch, those will only be available in castles and later on also in settlements. But what they do is influence how strong the units of particular roles are that appear in castles. And then there's also your overall renown, your fame, which kind of influences how many people even want to join you.
So how do things look for the player going from like the early to the mid to the late game?
Well, in the beginning, some units might just be too expensive for you, both in recruitment cost and in upkeep. Or they just simply refuse to follow an unknown commander. So in the early game, you will most likely be running with levy units, and then throughout the mid game, get some mercenary units in there while you figure out how to set up your income and improve household units in the late game. Yeah, running too big of an army early game can really ruin your economy and your day. Running a 100% household army at the maximum size should be possible, but it's going to be very expensive. So it's a safer bet to go with a mix of levies and mercenaries and household at different tiers.
I want to talk a little bit about the progression of units in the progression tree. Tell me a little bit about that, like how does that look?
Yeah, participating in battle gives units XP, and that XP is based on their performance in battle. So if they're a little bit off to the side and not doing much, then of course they will get less experience than when you're actively sending them into battle and they're doing damage and causing casualties. And once you hit an XP threshold, then you can promote the unit to the next tier. And those requirements are different between the different categories. So levies are untrained, but easier to like level up in the beginning, but then it will get more and more difficult, while the household is already well trained, so it will take longer for you to upgrade them. And XP requirements also increase every time you do a promotion.
And do you need any particular resources to upgrade a unit? Like, what's it going to cost you?
Yeah, there's several resources involved. It's usually a combination of arms and armor, but for cavalry you will also have a need for horses. And the different required amounts depend on what role, what tier, what category, and so on.
So what does promotion mean exactly?
It basically turns the entire unit into a new troop type. And that means new visuals, new weapons, new stats. And at different forks in the progression tree, you also need to make a decision of how to further develop the unit. So you can choose to continue it in the kind of same direction, making the unit just better in terms of stats, but keeping the same equipment and so on. Or you can specialize it towards a certain weapon type, or you can change its role entirely. If you're in need of archers, for example, you can just upgrade a melee type into a range type.
So you upgrade according to your needs then?
Yeah, it's really important to figure out how and when and who to upgrade based on where in the world are you, what's the opposition that you're facing, and what's my playstyle, and how am I as a commander. So just to give an example here, the Foot Sergeant is a tier 5 melee infantry troop type available in the English Household Units progression tree. And when promoted to tier 6, it can either turn into a Sword Sergeant or a Bill Sergeant. And the Sword Sergeant's purpose is similar to what it was before, but that has better equipment and stats. The Bill Sergeant, however, is equipped with heavier armor and a Bill polearm, making it better suited for dealing with cavalry.
And that's the progression of units. Now, as the average player, I want to field as big an army as possible. So how can I expand my army size and grow it?
There's also two parts to that. The first thing is unlocking additional unit slots, which just means you can have more units. But there's also the maximum unit size, which means you can have more troops inside a unit. So in the beginning, you will only have a couple of slots, and the maximum size is fairly low. But throughout the game, through several means, you can unlock the additional slots and increase that unit size. And in the end, run with an army up to 1,000 men, if you can pay for them.
Now, we've talked previously about how morale pertains to battles. How does it affect the army management day to day?
So the brackets for morale are the same inside and outside of battle. So the status that they have, units, they take into the battle, then whatever happens in the battle affects that morale, right? Like things happening around them, things you do as a commander. And the morale that they have at the end of a fight persists. And then outside of the battle, it's really important to keep your troops happy by providing them food and pay. And if you don't, then eventually they will desert. So the lower the morale bracket they go into, the more troops will eventually leave your units. And essentially the only thing you can do about that is improve their morale by either providing their upkeep in full or winning battles decisively as an inspiring commander.
Thank you very much for giving us all this information today, Nikki. And thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and join our Discord to keep up to date with news and updates like this one. Thank you very much for everything again, and goodbye.